Imagine living in a world where every moment of your day is owned by a screen, where your breath, your sweat, and even the rhythm of your heartbeat is nothing more than fuel for a system that never stops consuming. In this world, people pedal for hours on stationary bikes, not for health, not for freedom, but to generate credits. Credits that buy food, clothes, and entertainment. Credits that define your worth. One man thought he was just another cog in the machine, but the day he met a singer with a trembling voice, he realized the system wasn't just watching, it was waiting. His name was Daniel, a white man in his late 20s, sharp jawline, pale skin that looked almost translucent under the cold neon lights of his pod. His hazel eyes burned with a quiet exhaustion, framed by short, unkempt brown hair. Every morning, his pod walls glowed awake, flooding him with ads, cheap products, cooking shows, loud comedy clips. Even closing his eyes wasn't enough. The screens never turned off. He slid onto his bike. The pedals locked his feet in. As he pushed, credits ticked upward on the holographic display. Sweat rolled down his forehead, absorbed by the sterile air system. Around him, hundreds of pods hummed in unison, each holding a body pedaling, pedaling, pedaling. Life was simple here. Earn credits, spend them on food, or waste them on shallow distractions. Daniel rarely spoke to anyone. His only indulgence was silence. Muting the endless ads cost credits, but sometimes he bought those precious minutes of nothing. One morning, while waiting in line for the vending station, Daniel heard a voice. Not digital, not synthetic, human. A woman stood ahead of him, auburn hair tied loosely, wearing the same gray uniform as everyone else. But her green eyes carried something rare in this place. Softness. She hummed quietly to herself, unaware anyone was listening. Her voice was fragile, yet it cut through the noise of machines and hollow chatter. Daniel approached. "That song, it's yours?" She looked startled, then nodded shyly. I sing sometimes, just to remember I'm alive." That was the moment everything changed. For the first time, Daniel saw something beyond the system's endless grind. A spark, a possibility. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about her voice. While pedaling in his pod, her tune replayed in his mind, drowning out the ads. She told him her name was Alara. She confessed a dream, auditioning for the judges. Few dared to. The stage was the only way out, a chance to escape pedaling and become a star in the system's entertainment empire. But auditions cost an impossible amount of credits. Daniel lived frugally. He skipped meals, muted fewer ads, and even doubled his cycling hours until his legs trembled. Every credit he earned, he saved, not for himself, but for her. At last, he handed Alara the glowing pass. "For your voice," he said. The audition hall was unlike anything he'd seen. A vast black stage stretched into endless darkness, illuminated by a single white spotlight. On the far side, 3 judges sat elevated in metallic thrones. Their presence was chilling. One smirked with cruel delight, another tapped impatient fingers. The third leaned forward with a predatory curiosity. Alara stepped onto the stage, trembling but radiant in her plain white dress. As she began to sing, her voice soared, fragile yet piercing, filling the void. For a moment, even the ads seemed to vanish. The judges exchanged glances. Then, with calculated precision, the woman with icy blue eyes interrupted. "Beautiful," she said coldly, "but raw beauty doesn't sell. Fear sells, desire sells. You, my dear, will shine brighter in another role. The screen behind them flickered alive. Alara's face appeared, transformed into a provocative poster. Not as a singer, but as a performer for their adult channel. Daniel's heart froze. Alara's green eyes filled with panic. She looked at him, silently pleading, but the guards led her away. Her song was silenced. Back in his pod, Daniel shattered. He replayed her performance again and again on the paid replay service, watching her moment of hope dissolve into exploitation. His credits dwindled with every replay. Then one night, he noticed something sharp embedded in the vending slot of his pod, a fragment of glass. He held it up, neon lights refracting into fractured patterns. And in that shard, Daniel saw clarity. Weeks passed. Daniel pedaled harder than ever, not for escape, not for Alara, but for a new purpose. His credits grew until the day came. He purchased his own audition pass. On the stage, he stood in the spotlight, glass shard trembling in his hand. The judges smirked, expecting another desperate singer or failed comic. "Go on," one of them drawled. But Daniel didn't sing. He raised the shard to his neck. The audience of digital avatars gasped in perfect synchronization. His voice cracked the silence. "This is the truth of your system. We sweat, we starve, we bleed into these machines. We sell our dreams, our bodies, our voices for your profit. You call it freedom. It is slavery." The shard pressed tighter. Blood beaded at his throat. His hazel eyes blazed with fury. The woman with icy eyes leaned forward, a cruel smile playing across her lips. "Now that sells." The crowd of avatars erupted into hollow cheers, not for Daniel's pain, but for the spectacle. "Do you want freedom?" she asked. "Or do you want a stage?" Silence. Daniel's hand trembled. Then he lowered the shard. Weeks later, Daniel's pod was gone. In its place, he had a new room, sleek, spacious, lined with glowing walls and a panoramic view of digital landscapes. He no longer pedaled. He no longer starved. Instead, twice a week, he stood before millions of streaming avatars, repeating his rage, his fury, his truth. The glass shard became his signature prop. His anger became a product, and the system rewarded him for it. Daniel stared out from his new life, sipping expensive drinks, eyes hollow. The panoramic window showed forests, oceans, mountains, but he knew it was all projection. One evening, he pressed the glass shard against the transparent wall. His reflection stared back, pale skin, hazel eyes lifeless. In the distance, another advertisement flickered. It was Alara, not singing, smiling mechanically in the role the system had forced upon her. Daniel whispered to himself, "They turned truth into entertainment, and we paid the price." The shard slipped from his fingers. The sound of digital applause echoed through the walls. If this story left you thinking, don't stop here. Subscribe to Thrill.com and dive into more twisted tech tales waiting for you.